So the first thing I need to say is that I'm going to be talking about training issues and scenarios myself. And these are from information I've received from my instructors or study I've done, research I've done, reading I've done. Everything that I'm saying today is just my opinion or my things I've been exposed to. I'm not providing legal advice to anyone about how to handle anything. I'm not a lawyer and I can't do that. Abby has graciously offered to be here. She is a lawyer. However, firearms are not her area of specialty. She's done research on this topic so that she can assist us tonight. But just keeping in mind that when it comes to the legal stuff, there's no bright line. There's no yes and no answer. Sometimes it's so situational that we don't want you to say, well, you know, this is the only answer to the question. So we just ask you to have that caveat in mind that we can't replace your own private lawyer having a consultation with you in a class format like today. So what are we talking about? We are talking about home defense inside your home. This does not apply to outside your home, doesn't apply to CCW. This is specifically home defense. And what is your home? Well, your home is your residence, and it doesn't have to be a house that you own. It could be an apartment, or it could be a hotel room that you're staying in. Any place that you are personally in domicile, where you're staying, is your home, and you have a right to be in your home and feel safe. You can use deadly force to defend yourself against deadly force or the threat of great bodily harm. And so I'm going to read, this is the actual California Penal Code I'm going to read so that we're all clear. So this is what's known as Castle Doctrine. And this is the law that defines what the use of force in a home situation. This is California Penal Code section 198.5. And it says, any person using force intended or likely to cause death or great bodily injury within his or her residence shall be presumed to have held a reasonable fear of imminent peril of death or great bodily injury to self, family, or a member of the household when that force is used against another person, not a member of the family or household, who unlawfully and forcibly enters or has unlawfully or forcibly entered the residence and the person using the force knew or had reason to believe that an unlawful and forcible entry occurred. As used in this section, great bodily injury means a significant or substantial physical injury. Long-winded legalese, and I think there's a few points that we want to specifically address.
Basically, you always have the general right to self-defense with the basic terms of the self-defense. You can, don't have to retreat. You, if there is a reasonable, if you're a reasonable risk of great bodily harm or death, you can use force to stop that. So you never lose that. But the Castle Doctrine is so specific to a situation in the four walls of your house, not your front porch, not your garage, not your front yard. And where it kind of, as Robbie, as you put it earlier, it creates a sort of, it's a lower standard that you can meet if you pull out your firearm and defend yourself because someone's breaking in. So it creates a presumption that if someone has forcibly broken into your house who is not a member of your family and not a member of the household, which means if it's a husband or a wife that you are estranged from, the Castle Doctrine doesn't apply. There is a presumption that you were in fear for your safety and fear that if you didn't defend yourself, you would encounter great bodily harm or death. But what's interesting about it is that it only applies to people who are not your family and not members of the household. And to be also very clear, it really is the place you're staying. It's not your place of work. It's not your car, at least not in California. A lot of people say that it is, but in California, it's not. It is just your house.
Now that we know
Okay.
the definition of castle doctrine, let's presume that if someone has forcibly entered and you feel you are under threat of great bodily injury or harm, what is the mindset now?
Okay. So first of all, we have to define what is your mission. So when it comes to this, your mission is to defend yourself or the others in the home. You are not law enforcement. You do not pursue. Okay. This is not an action movie. You are not the hero. As soon as you get the threat to stop, you stop. If you pull out your gun, and Abby's going to tell us her own personal story, and the laser pointer crosses their body and they leave, that's it. They've left the house. You don't get to chase them. You don't get to shoot through the open door as they're running down the street. So you're not law enforcement. I think that's the important thing. You must have the mindset that I must protect myself. I must protect my family. I must do this. And when you have this mindset, there's so many things that are going to happen to you physically, emotionally, but you must never give up until you've stopped the threat. You can't quit. You may be shot. If you're in a gunfight, or you may be stabbed if it's a knife, you may be injured gravely, but you can't give up. You have to continue. You must. As soon as you quit, you're done. You've lost. There's no quit. This is a commitment you have to make to yourself and your family. I'm going to protect us.
So in my 20s, this wasn't in the home, but it's a similar situation of a violent encounter. I witnessed a gun homicide in a restaurant. And unlike Abby, who rose to action, I froze like a deer in headlights. I heard gunshots. I thought my mind was in denial. The victim and the shooter ran up to my table, and I still couldn't move, folks. I was panic stricken. I could not process what was happening in front of me. And it wasn't until the shooter stared me in the eyes that I finally bolted from my chair, right? So I'm gonna read just some of the other reactions like Abby talked about that by the way, the NRA makes a student handbook. If you want more information, you can get a copy, okay? But some of the things you might feel are adrenaline rush, loss of fine motor skills, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, which means you start hearing less around you, and time dilation. Time seems to slow down. Okay, so just some of the things that you might encounter. And I think, Robbie, to wrap this section up, because we don't know, you can't predict how you will react in these situations, is why we need to practice as realistically as we can, and why you signed up for this course with us. So when I took a class, Intuitive Defensive Shooting, with Alessandro Padovani, he talked about the 3 Ps, folks. So there's what is possible, right? What is possible that could happen? Well, that could be any limitless number of possibilities, right? So that's like a big domain. What is possible that could happen to you in your defensive situation? And then the second P is what is plausible to happen, right? So out of all of the endless possibilities, what is actually plausible that could happen in your specific situation, right? And that narrows it down a little bit. And then from even what is plausible, you think, what is the most probable that would happen to you? And like Robbie talked about, you train for that 90th percentile that's most common to happen. So, don't get overly paranoid and think all the different things that could happen to you, but in your specific situation, think about what is the most probable thing that could happen. And that helps narrow it down somewhat to your thinking and what you need to think about. Let me just add, one of the reasons why the less talking, the better, and what Abby is advising you, and any lawyer would advise you, is listen, if you've never been in a violent encounter, this has just happened, you're not in the right headspace to talk. You're processing a lot of things that just happened. I did a video on the emotional states that and emotional feelings that you could be overcome with after such a thing happening. And one of those feelings is, as good people, you're gonna feel remorseful about what happened. But you need to process these feelings with a lawyer, not with the police. One parting thing that's practical that I was thinking about ammo wise, we know ammo is expensive. Home defense ammo is even more expensive. But guess what? You need to train with that ammo because you need to make sure it cycles in your gun. You don't take it for granted that hollow points will cycle fine in your gun. I've read that frangible ammo, as suitable as it is for us in apartments, sometimes frangible ammo will not cycle in your gun. And you can't practice with home defense ammo at the indoor range. But guess what? At our outdoor range next Saturday, you can. So if you have some home defense ammo that you want to make sure cycles in your gun for these drills, feel free to bring that ammo. It'll be a good exercise to make sure that this ammo does actually work in your gun.